together right now over me.
It's Sunday morning on CBS, and here again is Charles Osgood.
Fans of John Lennon gather at events around the world next Saturday to mark the anniversary of his birth. Hard to believe, but that is the day that Lennon would have turned 70. And who would have thought that Lennon's two long-estranged families would ever come together in peace and harmony? But as Anthony Mason now shows us, they have.
In the often divisive history of the Lennon family, it was a surprising moment of unity.
Mum just wants to come in and say hello.
John Lennon's first wife, Cynthia, and the woman he left her for, Yoko Ono, embracing. On the eve of what would have been Lennon's 70th birthday, his two wives and their two sons, all together now.
Who would have thought, eh?
I know.
It was most curious how that came together. You know, I did tell everybody that everybody was going to be there, and I wasn't quite sure if everybody was going to turn up, but was happily surprised.
The occasion was the opening of Julian Lennon's first exhibition of photographs. At 47, John Lennon's firstborn son is already 7 years older than his father was when he was killed in 1980.
If millions of people weren't coming up and asking you about your father's 70th birthday, is it something that you would be marking in any way?
I'm actually looking at my age and his age going, Jesus, what happened? Time has flown, and now more than ever look back in with a great deal of respect for him as a man and his work, but not necessarily as a father, but as a man and his work. No question about that. And there's also a lot of forgiveness now.
Ever since you've been leaving me, I've been wanting to cry.
It's been the paradox of Julian Lennon's life that he spent his childhood chasing after his father's love, and the years since running from his father's shadow. He scored a string of his own hits in the 80s, but was always being measured against his father's mythic image.
These are in. Those three are in.
But earlier this year, Julian suddenly set out in a new direction, considering a career as a photographer.
It's kind of unexpected, though, isn't it? I mean...
Listen, 6 months ago, I had no idea I'd be doing any of the things that I'm doing right now. Not a clue.
This is an approval, this is an approval.
Yep.
Urged on by celebrity photographer Timothy White, who admired his work, Julian began to put together a show based around a series of landscapes and skyscapes.
I guess also the other side of the coin is, you know, that Dad wasn't necessarily known for his photography. Not that that's the reason I'm doing this by any means, but
you don't have to suffer the comparison.
But yes, in that respect. So, you know, there's a joy to this and a freedom to this.
But Julian has also tried to hold on to his father. For years, he's been buying up Beatles memorabilia at auctions around the world.
Nothing you can do that can't be done. Nothing you can sing that can't be sung.
Like the Afghan coat John wore on the set of Magical Mystery Tour.
It's easy. Hey Jude.
And the recording notes for Hey Jude, the song Paul McCartney wrote to console Julian after his parents split.
Make it better. Remember to let her into your heart.
When you hear that song now, what do you think?
Well, you're gonna find this slightly funny, but Mum and her husband had a nice Italian dinner last night, and decided to call me up and start singing Hey Jude down the phone after a few bottles of wine. And I'm going, like, I need to hear it any more times than this. And now my mother, what's going on?
Were all of these items things you had to go out and buy?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
How did you feel about having to do that?
Well, I mean, it sucks, doesn't it? But if that's the only way I can get them back, then that's what I'm going to have to do.
I didn't mean to hurt you.
What means the most to you?
I guess the postcard.
I'm sorry that I made you cry.
Means that he was thinking about me at a time that he wasn't around.
Didn't want to hurt you.
After his parents split when he was 5, Julian often went years without seeing his father, who later doted on his half-brother, Sean.
Have no fear.
When I saw the fact that, you know, he'd basically given up music for a couple of years to look after Sean, you know, that was it was hurtful, you know, that I thought, well, why didn't he do that for me?
With Julian, my first child, I was just toured the world. I would come home from Australia, and he'd be a different size. I wouldn't even recognize the way he looked half the time. It was a strange child in the house who I had no relationship whatsoever.
In retrospect, one looks back and sees what duress he was actually under at the time. When the Beatles hit, I mean, they hit as big as it got. You know, I start to grasp, well, he couldn't. He couldn't have stopped. Even if he wanted to. You know, you have to let go and sort of say, well, I get it. I understand. I really do.
The day before the opening of Julian's photography show, his mother, Cynthia, arrived from Spain, where she now lives.
But I've never seen my son so happy as he is now.
And opening night at New York's Morrison Hotel Gallery, Julian's show packed the house.
I think it was more insane than backstage after a gig.
The crowd included George Harrison's first wife, Pattie Boyd. And then Yoko arrived with Sean. Julian and his younger brother, who's now 34, grew up in different homes in different countries, but they're very close.
Julian is the reason I started playing music, actually, because when I was a kid, I remember when his first record, Valot, hit the charts, and he was, you know, the biggest thing that existed in the world at that time. And there was
For the first time together, they talked about their relationship.
Actually, he taught me how to play guitar. You know, I remember him teaching me the song Faith by George Michael. He was like, jink, 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 jink.
Oh, jeez.
The truth is that Julian was like my hero, and he still is. You know? And he sings much better than I do. Sunsets, just as we will forget these precious moments.
The show included photographs Julian had taken of Sean when he surprised him on tour in Eastern Europe a few years ago.
Please don't ask me why, the true is the sky. Everyone is born to die.
For 2 weeks, Julian rode the tour bus with his brother.
So he was your roadie.
Well, you know, he really rocked it with us.
I actually became the sort of assistant tour manager for restaurants and
That's actually true.
and
Well,
bars.
he's much more experienced with touring than I am because he really did it.
Just experience, my dear boy. Just
You're
experience.
the organized one.
Our life together is so precious. Together.
Julian's relationship with Sean's mother has been far more difficult. For years, he fought bitterly with Yoko for a share of his father's estate before they finally reached a settlement.
You've had your differences in the past.
Sure.
Forgive me, but you've decided to give peace a chance?
Oh, geez. You know, it's just not worth the stress. It really isn't. The stresses and the strains. I think the key point to all of this, for me at least, has been Sean. If I hurt Sean's mother, then I hurt Sean. It's a roundabout way of thinking about things, but because I love Sean so much, I just don't want to hurt him. I can get over it. I have gotten over it.
Imagine there's no heaven.
Thank you for doing that. It was great.
Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight.
In the end, Julian Lennon's show of photographs produced its own remarkable picture.
I'm very proud that both of them are very talented sons.
Thank you.
John Lennon's family together. Imagine that.
Imagine all